just realized the craziest thing of 17 years of a tour and turning 50 next week is I have to have notes. I used to be able to remember all this stuff, and I'm like, someone grab some notes here so I can tell you what I got to talk about. So, you know, it is our 17th year, and I want to thank you guys on the East Coast. It took us 17 years to actually hold this here, to have such a warm embrace for the Warped Tour, because I remember a little story about the first year I came out here, and I had Snapcase, and I had Shelter, and I had Sick of It All, Bouncing Souls, and bands like that. And I put them on at the wrong time. Like in Jersey and New York, it'd be like, you disrespected us because we're from Flatbush, or we're from this part of town. And I'm like, dude, I need to put name tags on all of you guys to tell me where you're from, because I'm from the West Coast, you know. But I do, in a weird way, thought that, in the long run, Warped Tour did bring the East Coast and the West Coast together. We worked a lot of shows for years, and I do shows with East Coast bands and hardcore bands, H2O, which I was lucky enough to manage for a while, and had some fun with those guys. I think some of them are coming down tonight. But there has been a connection with the Warped Tour, and as the scene grew, I mean, you guys became the hotbed of this music. You got to think about it. Bamboozle, those guys have done a great job with that festival, kind of breaking out of summertime. You know, Thursday, some of those guys are coming down tonight. All the bands seem to come out of this area, so I guess it was natural when Vans opened up this new, as they're expanding and growing. They're a big company, but they're taking a big role up in the Northeast, and they open up this great space, the House of Vans, that it's time to come out and give you guys a party tonight, like we've had on the West Coast. So hopefully you're not all bailing right after this and don't have somewhere better to be, and you can hang out and see some of these bands, because tonight's lineup is definitely reflective of where I try to take the tour this year. I got laid up for 2 months after the tour and just sat there and started listening to music again. Stopped listening to agents, stopped listening to managers, and started listening to music and started to try to feel where things were going, and booked a tour that I think is reflective and very diverse and very cool. And in my mind, you're going to find gems out there, and some of those gems are playing tonight. Getting a chance coming up first, you're going to see School of Rock. I think one of the things we've done a partnership with School of Rock that's kind of embraced young kids. And a lot of these young kids say the first concert they've ever been to is the Warped Tour. Next band coming up tonight is Lionize, which I was just hanging out with those guys, and they're totally cool. And they said, since we kind of put them on Warped Tour, a lot of bands are taking them under their wings. I just heard they got a date on Bonnaroo, which Warped Tour and Bonnaroo's never known to trade bands that often, so that's kind of cool. We've got Moving Mountains, we've got The Wonder Years, and then some great people, MC Lars with Weird Science playing tonight. So please try to hang out. And the whole lineup this year really thought through. And the way we announced the bands, 5 bands a week, and then some kid scooped us last night. They left when he scooped all the bands we're supposed to announce at midnight tonight. If you don't know, an 11-year-old, they try to preload the music on YouTube and do everything, our little video presentation, and in a minute and a half, 11 kids got a hold of that. And it's everywhere. So some kid in Fargo scooped all of you and broke the whole tour. So I'm out of here. But no, actually, it's great. It's really cool to see how engaged. I think we have engaged the audience, and then Paul in my office and everything has just engaged the crowd. I think it's very engaged, and that's where we came up with this term. We are warped. I get asked, what is punk? I always say, I think punk rock that term should actually be retired almost, in some ways, and given to the legends of that music. In some ways, what is punk? I mean, kids are punk if they're still playing music and want to figure out how to make it work. If you look at this year's lineup, I started looking at, there's very few major label bands on the Warped Tour this year. It's back to where we were in 1995. When we had Civ and Quicksand and all those kind of bands. This year's Warped Tour is very reflective of where we are then. It hasn't changed in 17 years. It's come full circle. And these bands are going to get out there and work their asses off. They're looking at diesel prices or gas prices. We're going to all figure out how to get down the road this summer. And hopefully the kids will come down. And that turned into another thing I started learning out. And I'm going to talk a lot. I guess I'm talking a lot too much. But there's something I want to tell you guys tonight. It's a thing I saw when I was standing out front side the gates last year. And I asked kids why you're leaving at 5:30, 6:30. I said, are you not having a good time? What's wrong? Why are you leaving at 5:30? No, we're having a great time. We're just out of money. The economy and the whole environment has changed where a kid doesn't get an ATM card to get to just come and get money whenever they need it. They're given a fixed amount of money to come to a concert. And the biggest thing I asked, why are you leaving? And most of them said, I'm hungry and I'm thirsty. And I said, I understand. I started looking, and we all complain about prices of food and drinks and all that. So one of the things I could do, I think I booked good bands. That's like part of the whole deal. Is we went and fought this year, so you're going to see a new thing at Warped Tour. And one of our things we did, I went in and said, kids need to come to a 9-hour show. We want them to come to the whole Warped Tour for 9 hours because they want to see every band. They want to see Greaves, and they want to see Yellow Wolf, and they want to come see All-Star and Pacifier, all these bands. But if they get thirsty and they get hungry, they got to go home. And we all know that water, and when you really dig into the economics, which I can't even teach, it's crazy what I went through this year. You know, water's $4, $4.50 when you go to a venue. This year, the Warped Tour has made a deal, and we've had, without raising the ticket price of the fan, have figured out how to get the water to the kid for $3 a bottle. We've also made a partnership with Clean Canteen, which is going to give us water stations so kids that can refill their water bottles. So then, you know, I'm also talking to the kids in the parking lots and asking these kids, you know, they can't afford to eat at the Warped Tour. And despite what people say, we don't take everything away from them. We let kids come in with a sandwich. So we just want to announce a thing that was really cool because you hear a lot of bad mouthing of Live Nation, okay? There are things of Live Nation, and we don't do all our shows with Live Nation. We have indie promoters, we still work with young promoters, we have indie promoters, but we do want to announce, like, in all the Live Nation, they'll come out next week, more details, but we've got a prepaid food program where parents are going to be able to go in and buy their kids, or you can buy a lunch before you come to the Warped Tour for $8.50. You'll get, you know, a slice of pizza, French fries, and a Coke, cheeseburger. And you know what? You can buy it beforehand, so you don't spend all your money on a Day to Remember sweatshirt. You'll be able to buy food at the shows ahead of time, which I think is very important to our fans. So that's what you can do after 17 years, is try to embrace things and try to stay current. And I think some of the things we're launching this year will take us to the future, and will take us to the next few years, and keep the Warped Tour relevant. Any questions on that whole food thing? I mean, I know it threw a lot out there, but I can ask questions. You can throw questions out at any time, too. You know, but that's what excites me. You know, it also excites me that we're doing, now I'm going to break out the notes here, you guys, because we're doing some pretty cool new stuff.
Also, if you do have questions, now would be the time.
Yeah, any questions so far?
How long ago did the concept for the House of Vans come up?
Hey, Steve, you there?
Yo!
How long ago did the House of Vans concept come here, Steve? Let's take House of Vans questions while we're here. Because guess what? I bet this becomes the busiest venue in Williamsburg in about a week after you guys tell all your friends to do their shows.
Well, when my dad started Vans in 1966, it was called the House of Vans. So our goal was to finally come to the East Coast. Even though the Van Dorns are from the East Coast, Boston originally, we decided we were going to put this place in and call it originally what my dad called Vans, which was the House of Vans. But the concept came up last June. It was built by October. We tested it out with a party then. And this is really the first official party that we actually have the right permits and everything to have. So we're glad to be here officially. And this will be the first official one. We have to break a bottle of champagne tonight. But House of Vans is open for fashion shows, art shows, skateboarding events, and music festivals like we have here today. So, and it's going to be something that's private and free for every party that you come to. Thanks.
Hey guys, let's hear it. Steve Van Dorn has been a partner of mine for 16 of those 17 years, and the reason I'm probably here. I want to bring up a couple things that we're doing that are different and kind of new, because we always have to try to stay current too. I mean, it's all about technology, it's all about changing things. We have a new partner right now, and it was funny because Sarah, who works with me, was down at South by Southwest and started talking to this company about what they're doing with music. And it's about promoting music, it's about an idea about fans getting behind music, and we're trying to figure out, we got some details to work out, but the name of the company is called who'snext.com, and they're working on different things. And when they were talking to Sarah, they said, this band won, and they get to be on Jimmy Kimmel, and we don't know who they are. They're named called Asking Alexandria. Sarah's like, well, they're on the Warped Tour all summer. And they're like, really? So she got in a conversation with them, and we're forming a great partnership that I think will help the labels and the bands. We're going to figure out a way that Warped Tour bands can get maybe more exposure on TV shows like Kimmel, Comcast, some of their partners. Also, a dream of mine's been to have a radio station called Warped Radio. I used to stalk a guy named Lee Abrams. He started a company called XM. I used to chase him around a floor of conferences and say, I've got